Hi, I'm here tonight to show you my art journal that I made for Artfully August Junk Journal Challenge with DearJulieJulie for August 2023. For this challenge we had to make 10 pages and 16 embellishments using the 26 alphabet art prompts that Julie picked out for us. We could interpret these prompts in any way we wanted to. So I decided that this was the perfect month to make myself an art journal and have it as a resource for myself. So you'll see that I have a little bit of both of those in there. Also decided that this was the perfect month to use the slow stitch piece that I've been working on for about a year because it was so big and I didn't want to cut it down to a normal size journal. So this journal is almost 12 inches by 8, so it's a nice big size. I bound it in the Midori style and it has 2 signatures plus a bonus. I've added a couple of charms up here that are from my stash that I like, one that says inspire and one that says live, laugh, love. The tassel also has 3 charms that I made as part of the challenge, as well as another little bead thing. It is the cover is made again with the slow stitch piece that I was working on, and then the inside is one of the desk calendars, pieces of cardboard, and then an old curtain. The digitals that I used are Eco Dye, Hollyhocks and Daisies, and Daisy Grunge and Lace. And they're both DearJulieJulie's digitals. For the signature covers, because again this book was so big, I had a coffee table book that was Courier and Ives, and it was art. I just decorated the front here with a piece of the digital, and then I put one of these wool little handmade buttons and a 65. So the first element I come to is my flip, and it is some fabric there, different kinds of fabric. It's held together with one of my paper clips, and it has, after all the flips of materials, it has a staccato. And in the staccato I put some of my other elements that I had to make that were artsy. So with this being a resource book as well as an art journal, I can pull these out and use them in different parts for my art if I wanted to, like make a collage or something. This is just extra stuff I stuck in this paper and some extra mandalas that I had. This page here is a junk mail, and I just mixed media, but the main part is on the other side. Threw in nice piece of cardboard there that I could use. This is a card that I added. The pages are all again very big and oversized. This is a resource of some beautiful quotes that I can use and cut up. This is just a quilt book that this is what you use when you're making quilts, and you can sew this pattern onto your quilt. This is a piece of, so anyway, I like this and I thought I could use it for one of my elements, and you'll see later on where I do. The digital, these are blue daisies, I think, that she Eco Dye. This is my own Eco Dyeing paper that I did last fall. Some black paper. I always like to put some different black, different papers in it so I could draw on there if I wanted to. This is my layer element, and I used alcohol markers, and I layered the alcohol markers to give them some dimension. This is just an extra piece that I had on my desk after I did some art stuff for the journal, so I cleaned off my brayer on there and threw it in again. This is just some paper that I had, junky paper. The middle of the signature, there's room in here to add bits and pieces if I'm not finished my collage. This is something that I found when I was looking for something else, and these are Marguerite Miller's prompts for different weeks. These were last year's weeks, and I just stuck them in there because that can help me with my inspiration. This is a paper clip that I needed to use either a negative or an X-ray. And again, my layered element. I could see me ripping these out and using them throughout the journal. Some noisy paper. Paper bag. Some scrapbook paper. This element here is the double edge pocket, and I just covered the mixed media with a couple of pieces of paper there. In the first pocket I have my wax, so I took my glue gun and I made myself some stencils with the glue, and then I used them and as a stencil and stenciled them with ink. So again, this would be fun to pull out and use a piece of this here and there. And in the second double-edged pocket I put in a resource for color theory, because sometimes you just need a little help to pick the right color. I just decorated it there. My ugly paper was this big polka dot, so it's in here in a couple of places. And this, I'm trying to get rid of a big roll of this, I don't know what you call it, it was around in the 80s, and it makes perfect edge papers. I have some leftovers that I just put in an envelope that I used throughout the journal, so that's just tucked into the other side of the edge pocket. This is my large tag with a job. My string I used, and I just had some wool scraps, so I blanket stitched the string on the wool. This is my numbers element, so I stamped a whole bunch of numbers over a piece of cardstock, and then I layered it with some pattern paper and put on a digital. And inside here is just a whole bunch of different pattern papers that I can use or write on them, either way. And that is the end of signature 1. Signature 2 starts out again with a big paper. I didn't like the image, so I added Julie's image on it. Put a little quote there. Crafting forever, housework whenever. And threw a few extra resources in here. I think I had that tipped over. And one of Julie's digitals. So this is my ugly paper page where I covered one side with a napkin, added some artsy stuff there. The other side I mixed media, and I did about 3 different layers, or 3 or 4 different layers, mixed media, another piece of the napkin, and then I threw in a couple of items that were kicking around, and I thought, you know what, that'll work. If I need a focal point somewhere. This is my interpretation of doing reverse coloring. If you haven't looked that up yet, I think it's kind of neat. You can buy these coloring books and they just have a splash of color, and then you take that splash of color and you put in the black lines. So when I discovered what reverse coloring was all about, I thought, you know what, I can do that with an eco print, and I certainly can. So it's, of course, you get a little bit more color than I think what the coloring books would give you, but I think it turned out great, and I'm going to be doing more of that. Some more scrapbook. Okay, so this is actually my very first page that I did in the book, or in my journal. So I had those quilting sewing patterns, and that's when I did my Zentangle. Right, well, it was in the book. And of course, these grid papers like this you can use for planning. This is my waterfall, and I just decorated it. This was attached, but it fell off. So my waterfall is made out of my ink paper, and each one that I decorated, I made a little cluster, so now I can just rip around the cluster and I have it to go somewhere. There's another one there. Another one. And a couple more. And this is also on my ripped and tore element, and there was a map page ripped and torn and is stuck to the map index page. This is my bubbles, so it is a flip up, flip down, and it has a large journal card in it. Again, Julie's Digitals. I did some stamping on it and added a word to qualify for that piece. And in this pocket is my mosaic. Used buttons and glued them down, and that's my mosaic. And again, I added one of my homemade buttons. This is actually really good sketch paper. I have some watercolor paper in here as well. So different kinds of papers to use. This is my double tuck with 3 elements. So I laminated my dried flowers, which was an orchid, and then some other leaves that I had, and then just added some sewing and a little tab. And then I also did my handwriting in here, and I just took one of my mom's letters and made a pocket with it and tucked it into the little packaging envelope, and it's there for if I wanted to use some handwriting. And in the back I have my other element. Again, it's the flowers, pressed flowers, and some more handwriting stuck in that envelope. And I've put a coloring page in there because who knows, I just might feel like coloring. Another center. I just had some more images around the desk, so I just covered a little tiny book with the images and put another journal card in here. Another one of my eco guide. This is my belly band and my vegetable print, which is celery that I used Julie's Digital on that. I just added some ink and some stamping, and then I had some leftover letters from my letter elements, so I found enough that I could write the word play, fun, and on my tag I did art. And I think I threw those sheets of letters away when I was finished with this this challenge, because I pretty well used everything I thought was usable. This page here is actually a cover of one of the art papers that I was using, so it's very sturdy paper. The back of my Ripped and Tore page. There's another one of those pages, so I'll be doing a lot more Zentangle, because I think this idea worked out really well without having to draw your own lines. This is my gathered from outside. It is birch bark, and I just added some fabric and a word and another little sticker on the back. My second try at reverse coloring. I've added a word, put some lines around the word, and some washi tape there to hold the 2 pages together. And this is the back of my ugly paper one, and there is a pocket there, but I just covered that with lined paper. It also has my 3 pockets on a page, so there's a large pocket here, some extra leaves that I had made for printing. I have a pocket up here that is a leaf and added a few little bits and pieces in it. And here's my other pocket, which is also one of my leaves. So I cut them out after I made them and then turned them into 3 pockets. This is my letter element, and I just took some scrapbooking letters that I had and just stuck them all over a piece of paper, and then turned that into a large tag with a job, which is got a pocket. Added a little bit of the birch bark and my homemade wool buttons. This cardboard piece I used to make my charms on the front here. So those are in that pocket, and that's the back, and that is the back of my stitching project. And then the third signature, because I had a whole bunch of resources left over, I decided to make another signature, again with the same art paper from that beautiful Korean Ives book, and I folded it in a way that it has a pocket on the side. And then I did like a jelly print that I had and different papers left over. Again, these are all could be used just for collage or inspiration of some kind. There's some music paper there, some scrapbook paper, some good quality art paper, a map, a dictionary. Oh, those didn't get cut in. I'll have to figure out where to put those. This is some of that really nice paper from inside albums, coffee dyed, coffee filter, and just a few other things. This is marker paper. It's really nice paper for markers, but I didn't like the picture, so it's in there as a resource now. My scratch papers came in here, and I might not use them, but maybe I'll just use them again as a scratch, cleaning off my brayer, who knows, if I don't use them for actually the art. And that can just go tucked in there, I guess. Okay, and that is my journal. I hope that you like it. I thought this again was a really fun challenge. Thank you everybody for liking and subscribing, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.